Greetings collectors and welcome to today's retro game review. Ever wanted to win insane prizes such as a toaster, televisions and of course a brand new VCR? Well, you're in luck. All of these wonderful prizes and more are up for grabs in today's game show episode of Super Smash TV for the Sega Mega Drive. Originally a 1990 release, Smash TV became a breakout game for Williams in the arcade. Smash TV was bright, bold, and a game about as frantic as we'd ever seen before in the arcades. Various versions of Smash TV were brought to the home console market. Everything from the NES, ZX Spectrum and Atari ST saw a release in some form or another. Perhaps the best two known versions for the home were the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis, and the equally decent Super Nintendo release. I'm playing the Sega edition here as I tend to prefer the grittier sound of the Sega sound chip. It's particularly punchy for the compositions in this game. I will show a quick side-by-side comparison in this video though, to let you decide for yourself which version works better for you. So, it's the year 1999. Yes, that's right, one of those Days of Futures Past scenarios. The TV audiences are hooked on game shows. Greater than ever is the demand for more and more violent game shows. Smash TV has become the viewer's choice. Looking at this now, you can't help but think that the satire of 1990 was spot on. Game shows may not have become more violent, but a certain subgenre of extreme shows did slowly evolve. Just try searching the internet for the term Japanese game show and prepare to have your mind blown. Although not confirmed, it's clear that the concept takes its cues from the 1982 story by Stephen King called The Running Man, later a 1987 film adaptation with Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you've not seen it, you're in for an 80s classic treat. Anyway, you control the contestant whose task it is to survive the arenas. Typically, you'll be thrust into a televised arena and await hundreds of grunts to pour in and attack you. There's something very raw about this game, and I have to say I like it a lot. The simplicity of the concept really lets the gameplay shine. As you can see from the footage, it's just wholesale violence, all set to the upbeat tunes of the game show. The excessive violence and pulsing music play off each other wonderfully. So, as I mentioned, I'd like to show you a comparison between the Sega 16-bit version and the Nintendo 16-bit version. Arguably, the two best home conversions of the game. I don't want to kick off the age-old debate about who is the greatest, but if you are a collector looking to pick this one up, you may be surprised by the contrast in execution. It was Flying Edge that handled Sega's ports, whilst Acclaim and Beam Software handled the Nintendo conversion. First up, it's the Sega Mega Drive version. And now for the Super Nintendo version. So, as you can see, both conversions were handled very differently. Graphically, the SNES version looks a little more polished. The palette is more of a pastel affair and greater levels of gradient used on most sprites. The Sega edition seems to have crisper graphics and the blood splatter also seems a little more excessive in places. Overall, whether you prefer the smoother Nintendo handling or the rawer Sega version, it's completely up to your preference. One department though that really does contrast is the sound department. Graphically, I would give the Super Nintendo the edge, but when it comes to the music, I personally much prefer Sega's sound. It's somehow brighter and more exciting. Nintendo did go for the technically superior orchestral sounding instruments. For a game like Super Smash TV though, a much grungier tone really works well. Somehow the SNES version is too polished and lacks excitement in my opinion. Overall though, the games are littered with minor differences, so it's very much up to personal preferences which you decide to collect. I've collected both Sega and Nintendo consoles for a long time, so hopefully I can give a balanced view. For me, it's Nintendo for the graphical win, and Sega for the audio execution. It's safe to say though, fans of Nintendo will be very happy with their release, and fans of Sega will be equally happy with their version of the game. Of course, the games play in a very similar way, similar contestants, enemies and boss fights. The control system of the game is something that needs getting used to. You have a full 8 directions of which you can shoot forward or backward. However, you also have the option to lock the direction that the player faces in order to continue firing whilst retreating. This setup can take some time to master, but really adds to the enjoyment of the game. You'll find that sometimes locking your direction is the most efficient way to deal with the marauding attackers as they burst through the doors to brutalise you. In addition to your main weapon, you'll also have the opportunity to pick up a decent range of extras, such as grenades, rockets and blades that encircle you. It's just the lift the game needs to keep the variety level up. The route through the TV studio also adds variety into the game. After you've defeated a room, you'll have the option of selecting which exit you would like to use. You can go in a very direct route, or you can enter extra rooms for bonus points and items. Of course, to finish a stage, you will have to finish the boss fight. Smash TV's Mutoid Man has very much become a retro gaming classic. Facing down against a giant tank/robot makes for some epic action. It's this action that has really kept the game fresh for so long. It's so frantic and excessive that it's impossible not to have fun with this one, especially in 2-player mode. In the UK, look to pay under £10 for the game fully boxed for the Sega Mega Drive edition. North American editions are currently also around the $10 mark. The game was very much mass produced, so it's fairly common and easy to pick up. Super Nintendo versions tend to sell for a little more, but will vary greatly depending on the condition of the box. So, should you collect Super Smash TV? I'd say that for anyone looking for a nostalgic afternoon of frantic shoot-'em-up fun, then you really can't go wrong with Super Smash TV. The game heavily features your contestant's ability to pick up TVs, VCRs and toasters as prizes. I suggest you do the same with this arcade classic. Hello again, I hope you enjoyed today's show and thank you for the view. Remember, you can always comment, like, subscribe and find us on the social media sites below. Happy collecting!